The Ray Darcy Show on RTE Radio 1. Proudly sponsored by Volkswagen. Volkswagen.ie.
I reached sergeant, and I wasn't. This is terrible now. It's beyond the statutes of limitation, so I can say it now. I wasn't even the age to be in the FCA, and I was a sergeant.
You were too old.
Eoin Colfer.
Sorry.
Were you ever in the FCA, Owen?
No. I was too short. I think they invented a height restriction when they saw the head on me. So sorry.
But there was an NCO, and wasn't there in your book? What's the name of the book that I read? That there was a guy who returned from the Lebanon or something.
Oh yeah.
What was the name of that book?
That was Plugged.
Plugged, yes, yeah. Was he a sergeant or something in the
I forget
Irish
the
Army?
rank. It was all done on Google. what are the ranks? No, actually, I had a friend of mine who'd actually been in Lebanon. And we're the only people who call it the Lebanon.
Right,
apparently,
okay.
it's just Lebanon to
okay.
everybody else.
Yeah.
But he filled me in on all the ranks and all the devilment that went on over there.
Okay. Well, listen, congratulations.
Yeah, thanks.
Now, we've been talking to each other for years now, and right from the start, the movie was always mentioned.
This is, you see, every 2 years I come back in here with the big news,
Yes.
and it never happens. So I'm starting to feel like you are my Jonah.
Oh, sorry. So, Artemis Fowl, the first one was published what year?
In 2001.
Okay, which is 14 years ago.
Yeah.
When was it optioned for a movie?
In 2000.
Even before it was published?
It wasn't even finished. It was optioned from the original manuscript, so it wasn't even sold as a book.
Okay.
So it was before it was, so it was incredible. 15 years it was up.
So explain to people what optioning means.
Well, what happened was they optioned it, which means they have the right to make it, and they optioned for a certain amount of time. So they optioned it for 18 months. And then the 18 months were up and they hadn't gotten around to make it. So they said, listen, we're not going to option this again, we're going to buy it. So they bought it outright. So now they own it forever, which is kind of a mixed blessing. It's good because it was a great deal and paid my mortgage and so on, but it's bad because then it doesn't revert to you if they don't make it.
Okay, but if they do make it,
Yeah.
and it's a huge success,
Yes.
you have obviously points or...
Yeah, we have built-in percentages where
Yes.
if it makes over a certain amount, that I get a bonus and so forth. So it's great. But the real thing for me would be that if they do make it, then hopefully the books will come back on the scene again.
Yes.
They'd go back up in sales, which is what usually happens.
So, go on, do a bit of name dropping there.
Well, my wife's Jackie. Jackie, how are you? She's probably listening out there. My son is Sean. No, I'm only kidding. The director is, it was all secret. I was kind of brought over to London about a month ago to meet Kenneth Branagh. And we met in this loft of his offices and we talked about all these names and that for screenwriters. And he mentioned Conor McPherson and I nearly had a heart attack. And I think it might have been a test because when I went for Conor McPherson, he was very happy about that. And so they contacted Conor and he's come on board. And I'm such a huge fan of his that I couldn't be happier.
So, Kenneth Branagh is going to direct it.
Yes.
Conor McPherson is going to do the screen.
He's going to adapt the book to write the screenplay. And
yes.
then Harvey Weinstein is producing. So it's a pretty powerful...
And who, is it Disney or...
It's a joint thing with Disney Weinstein.
Right.
So they bought it together many years ago and then they fell out and now they're back together again.
Aha.
That's what the big delay was.
You never told me that.
Did I not?
No,
Sorry.
you probably couldn't
You have
say
to ask
that.
me very specific questions.
Right.
No, I meant to say it. I'm sorry. I apologise.
No,
I'm sorry about that.
But, so that's hugely exciting, isn't it?
It's very exciting, but I came up in the school system that if you were happy, you were going to be punished for it. So I'll give you happy. What are you smiling about? And that stuck with me. So I'm kind of very cautious about it. And, the Facebook page has gone mad today. Everyone is delighted. And I feel like a real Scrooge and that I should be punching the sky and saying, yes, finally. But I'm actually going, okay, lads.
Okay, so I suppose until you're sitting there in a cinema and you're seeing it, you're not going to take it that it's been made because you've been false starts and false dawns before.
We have,
but this is the furthest.
Because Disney actually made an announcement to Variety magazine, and there was a press release sent out, and that's never happened before. And there's deals being signed with Conor McPherson and Kenneth Branagh, so it's looking very good.
Okay, and remind people about Artemis Fowl. So there's a 12-year-old millionaire.
It's this 12-year-old who's inherited a criminal empire. And when his father goes missing, he's kidnapped. He decides to raise the ransom by kidnapping a leprechaun for its crock of gold.
Right.
But the Leprechaun turns out to be a very high-tech, high-spec police force. And so he's basically focused the attention of all these amazingly technically proficient creatures on his manor in North Dublin.
Okay. Would the fact that the Harry Potter series
Yeah.
of films has come to an end, would that have anything to do with the
I
timing
think so.
of this?
They're always looking for the next series that's going to be a franchise, like there's 8 books in mind, so they're thinking possibly 7 movies and then split the last book into 14 movies. So it's infinite, really. They can go on forever. So, and now Harry Potter's over and it was, so successful. And Percy Jackson did a couple of movies and The Hunger Games and all of those. So they're looking for the next thing. And Kenneth is Irish as well, and Connor is Irish, and they've always had a love for this. And Harvey Weinstein, what happened with him was he rang me and he said, this book kept my publishing house open for another year. So it was the only book that made any money. So I'm very fond of this book.
Ah, right.
So he really wants to do it. And so there's a lot of love for it, I think.
Tell people who don't know, he's the biggest independent movie producer in the world, is he, Harvey?
Yeah, he's the
Weinstein?
guy who basically gave us Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah.
And he's won, I think, more Oscars than any other producer in history, and he wants to produce this himself. So that's an amazing thing for me, but also for the series. Because
Has he come out of retirement to do it?
he hasn't produced a movie himself, as far as I know, for a few years. He's been executive producer or co-producer, but this one he said he wants to do it himself. So that's a pretty big thing.
And there's another big name.
Well, Robert De Niro is involved because his company partnered with Weinstein. So he's another guy who's been behind it. I'm saying this like I know these people. Me and Bobby sit around saying, who are you looking at all the time? But we don't. I've never met Mr. De Niro. But I would, hopefully I would. I really want to meet Conor McPherson. That's the guy I want to meet, because ever since I saw Shining City or The Weir or The Seafarer, I've just been a huge fan of his.
Yeah, they're all listening down in Wexford going, far from Robert De Niro, he was reared.
As far as Robert De Niro.
Colfer.
It was Robert Murphy with the chipper up the fight.
I love your shirt. Where'd you get that shirt? It's the shirt I'd wear.
Can I say I got this in Corkins of Wexford. Corkins Menswear of Wexford. So I had to get the sleeves shortened because of my little arms, but other than that.
Will you stay with us? We'll talk to Eoin a little bit more about books and movies, but before that we have to go to the studios of Radio Gaeltacht in Cosla for Nocht with Seamus. Cormac, good. Seamus, Eoin Colfer is still with us. So how much input will you have into it, other than you've written the books?
In my mind, a lot of input. In the actual real world, zero. Kenneth said to me, listen, we won't, and Harvey, that they won't make anything I don't like. But at the end of the day, this is a huge business. It's a huge financial business, and I think they will decide what the best script is.
Do you think the Leprechaun will get the heave-ho?
I don't know. I mean, I just don't want everybody to be sexy, because it's not that kind of book. And I think that's what happened a little bit with the Percy Jackson movies, in that they made everybody really cool. And Percy Jackson was supposed to be a nerd, and Artemis Fowl is supposed to be like a techno geek.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that they will leave that element of it and not try and give him the quiff and the average length arms, which I hate.
Well, I suppose all the stars of Harry Potter, they weren't.
I think they went so right there.
Yes,
they got 3 normal kids.
Yeah.
I mean, they've all turned out fine figures of men and women, but at the time they were normal, kids, and they looked average, and every average child could identify with them.
Yeah, but I suppose they became moneyed.
They became moneyed, and they got exfoliated and everything.
All that, yes,
liposucked, everything, and now they look great. But initially, they were all very normal kids.
Because they signed up at the start, wasn't it? There was another story. I remember reading about Daniel Radcliffe that he didn't get a lot, relatively speaking, for the first few movies, and then when they were locked into him, so he could ask any amount for the last few.
Yeah, I think he made some astronomical, like tens of millions, eventually out of it.
Yeah.
So I think they all, for the first 3, they're locked into it, just not an average, but a good wage. But then after that, their agents start rubbing their hands gleefully together.
Yeah.
So
they can't change them now.
Yeah.
You're at the Let You Picnic this weekend.
Yes, we're there on Friday and Saturday with Children's Books Ireland, and we'll be in the literature tent in Minefield at 1 on Saturday and Sunday. I think it's either 1 or 1:30, and we're promoting a new book which is called Once Upon a Place, which is trying to get kids to look around them rather than just at their screen. So look at this magical country you live in, and we've got people like Roddy Doyle, Oisin McGann, the fantastic poet, and the Wiley, Sarah Webb. And PJ, of course, PJ Lynch is down there as well. So we're going to be talking to kids. So if you're bringing your kids, there's never, and you're looking for something to do, this is a great event for everybody.
Is it an anthology?
It is an anthology.
Yeah.
So we've got people in the anthology like Derek Landy, Siobhan Parkinson, myself, John Connolly, Roddy Doyle, and very exciting for me, Jim Sheridan in his first short story. I just waited outside his house and made him write a story for me.
Right.
So, which is a very dark and scary but hilarious
Is there
story.
a theme running through it?
They're all set in a different place in Ireland.
Okay.
That has a special connection for the author, either growing up or where they bring their kids now, or just somewhere they love. So it's different points all over the country.
Are they named or inspired by?
They're inspired by. I mean, most of them they're named. Okay. I think about 90% of them. But a couple of the poems they're not named. My bit is inspired by Phuket, and I say at the beginning where this kingdom is. It's set in Phuket. So
okay, because I was talking to Shane Hegarty recently, and Dartmouth is inspired by Dingle and Skerries.
Dingle and Skerries.
It's sort of an amalgamation of the two.
Yeah,
of them.
I would have called it Dingles then. I think that would have been no Dingleberries. That would have been Dingleberries. That would have been a much better name. Sorry, Shane.
Publicly giving other authors advice. Is it a sort of a nice world, or because I chaired a thing down in Leitrim. That's where I met Shane Hegarty and another guy, Matt Griffin. I can't remember the other guy's name because he's not published yet. It's published in I think his name was Duggan. He's a lovely guy, red hair, beard. But they seem to get on very well, although they're sort of competing. We do
have a lot of crack, and we meet up at these festivals, and we meet up in places like Edinburgh. I was over there recently, and Derek was over there, and Oliver Jeffers, who I'm doing a book with, he was there. So we do have a lot of crack, and I don't think we see each other as competitors. Well, I don't. Maybe that's because I've had pretty good, and I'm just kind of relaxing now. But there is a lot of. We do have a lot. We see as Irish people together. I met Oliver first when we were in New Zealand, and automatically all the Irish writers came together and went out for a meal. And it didn't matter what kind of writer you were. It was me and Roddy, Oliver, Sebastian Barry, and a few others. And we all went off for a meal together. So the Irish contingent, as they do everywhere with anything, tend to stick together and go out and assume that they will be having the crack together.
There's a good camaraderie. So, Electric Picnic. Any notions of who you'd like to, did you have these chats with Kenneth Branagh about who you'd like to star in it?
I think he has a few ideas, but I think he's going to have to, he said he wants to find a newcomer for the Artemis role. Yeah. So, it's funny, I was talking to, goes back to how long we've been talking about this movie being made. I met Jack Rayner recently. Right. And, from Transformers and from Jim Sheridan's new movie, and we were having a chat, and he said, "Do you know I auditioned for Artemis?" And he didn't get it, but he auditioned. I think he was down to the last 3 or something, and the first time I said, "You're lucky now you didn't get it."
Have you seen Songs of the Sea?
I haven't seen it.
No,
apparently it's absolutely amazing.
It is amazing.
Yeah, I'm going to see it. I definitely will see it.
And David Moonboy Roll, as I call him, he's brilliant in it. It's his only voice, but he's brilliant in it. Yeah. Just reading Spud Murphy with my class. Owen's books are great from the young reads up. Looking forward to the movie for a long time. Was in college 2 years with Owen. Terence Deneen, Ballyhigh.
Oh, Terence, yeah.
There you go.
Terry has it going.
Yeah, he's obviously a school teacher, which you were.
I was a school teacher for a long, long time. So, and I still have the jackets covered in bodily fluid to prove it. So, and that sounds a bit weird now that I've said it.
It does, Monica.
Just to clarify, snot I meant.
Oh, that's shocker.
Yeah, oh God. I nearly made it through the whole interview, didn't I?
Eoin Colfer, congratulations again, and we look forward to seeing Artemis Fowl on the big screen. Eoin Colfer, thank you very much.
Thanks very much.
The Ray Darcy Show on RTE Radio 1.